Welcome back to another Inside Marketing video. I am DMC and I've just come off the back of one of the theatre presentations with Gordon Glenister. It was fascinating, really interesting stuff about basically how to be an influencer, which I wouldn't say I exactly am, but I'm making videos for you guys, so I can probably learn a thing or two from him. Yeah. To tell us a bit about what he spoke about, welcome to the show, Gordon.
No, thank you. It's really fun, even though I only got half an hour slot. I did the sort of overrun a little bit, which is not normally ideal, but I just wanted to give the audience a real taster for what little nuggets. I always, when I do these presentations, I always love it when people take a picture or they write stuff down, because otherwise it can be blue sky thinking, and I'm all about actionable tips.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. There's so much fluff when people when we ask people for tips. So often it's just like, get out there more, or something equally vague and unhelpful.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I found really interesting about the presentation, was useful stuff. I mean, you should see my notepad right now. It's stuffed with ideas to take home. Before we get into all that stuff though, sell your credibility a bit to the people at home if they don't already recognize you. He is the man behind the Influence Global podcast. And maybe it would be good to tell us, A, bit more about the podcast itself, and B, it'd be good to know about the origin story.
Yeah, no, it really is actually, because I was telling everybody, in 2018, I knew nothing about the influencer marketing industry. So I sort of stumbled into it. I ran a trade association for 11 years, wanted to help other associations with their strategy. And the first one I came to was the Branded Content Marketing Association. And I remember sitting with the CEO in a Soho hotel, and we were just about to sort of leave, thinking maybe there's not an immediate amount of work we could do together. But then I just said at the end, what about the influencer space? It's a bit like the Wild West, isn't it? Who's looking after this sector? And his mouth dropped as if to say, holy crap, there isn't anybody
I hadn't even thought of it till now.
No, so we started with creating a division, influence division, of what was already established association. And then what happened after that is I thought, well, there's lots of podcasts around. There isn't one specifically maybe around influencer marketing. I'll start one up. And I had no idea about podcasts. But what I do have a lot of knowledge about is how to connect people. And I think that's a really interesting piece of advice, really. If you want to be influential, it's surrounding yourself with influential people, or finding the godfathers of an industry.
Yeah.
And that was a bit like the origins of the podcast. I thought, well, let's interview some really cool people that are in the space already. And that is how, 92 episodes later, it's become, almost like an award-winning podcast. We've had over 50,000 downloads. It's viewed all around the world. And it's really, really, I love it actually, because we've got all these different voices of stories. And I think one lesson I've learned from the influencer space is the importance of value of storytelling and how we connect with people that really resonate with their own niche.
Yeah.
And of course, the other thing, there's a book. I decided to write a book on influencer marketing.
Free plug.
Never written a book before, and not necessarily a great reader. And it's only because I went to an event and I said, is there a book on influencer marketing? But I use the same principle here, is finding the industry godfathers, and I interviewed them. And so a lot of the content in the book, whilst it's my curation, a lot of it's also about their tips and advice. So you get this credibility by association. It's been really successful.
Amazing. So obviously you covered a hell of a lot, not just in the podcast, but at the presentation before. And some of the stuff I wanted to dig into was, do I say it? Yeah, let's focus on content that doesn't work. Let's go full clickbait here. Because I'm already punching up by doing exactly what you've just mentioned and trying to interview the influencer. Let's see if we can take it one step further and do something needlessly clickbaity. And you might teach me a thing or two in the process. Because obviously I'm a content producer. I have to make a lot of videos, but there's always other content that goes around that. What are some of the big problems people and mistakes people make when they're thinking about, I've got a brand, I need to make content?
So loads of things. What amazes me, I think the biggest lesson is think about your own attributes. When you like something, you comment on something, or you share a piece of content. Why? because it's often entertaining, it's educational, it's inspirational, or it's controversial.
Yeah, I was going to say, or it's just so wrong, you have to say something.
Yeah. Some of those things. So, but yet we don't apply those same attributes to our business. We go safe. We start to think about, well, let's do an email, let's do a webinar, let's do the same old stuff that we've always done, and let's just hope that that's going to work. Well, guess what? It doesn't. The stuff that works really well online is where there's real resonance. There's maybe an emotional story behind it. We don't like over-promoting people. We don't like poor editing. We don't like poor audio, grammar. I'm just going back to editing. You know, I still see loads of really awful stuff, and it feels like it's been slapped on, just shoved up online. And I always say, look, if somebody's bothered to follow you, somebody's bothered to subscribe to you, it's because you've done something that's good. So don't insult them by giving them crap content or poorly edited posts, because it's a bit of a slap in the face for them, quite frankly. You know, the over selfie culture, you know, but there's nothing to say maybe you do a picture with, like, for example, we might do together, because there's a story behind it, as opposed to, you know, look at me, you know, kiss in front of the mirror. And what you'll get, I mean, a lot of women sometimes do that, but what they get is a lot of tongue hanging out men.
Yeah.
And really, are they going to buy the campaigns and posts? Probably not, you know. So it's not about always the engagement, the relevance of it.
Yeah. Because I was just thinking what you were saying about poor editing and whatnot. I wonder if in some cases it's deliberate, because one of the other key things that comes out time and time again, I've been talking to people, I think you've already mentioned it once, is authenticity and storytelling.
Correct.
And I wonder if to some degree people are like, no, I want them to see the bad edits. I want them to see it be a bit janky, because then it looks like I just did it on my phone. I didn't engage a professional media company, and that makes me more authentic.
I totally agree with you. So that's a good point. People don't want the over photoshopped imagery either. But there's somewhere in between. I mean, if you know that, I mean, we've seen, like, was it Green Zone or some of these big films that have been filmed entirely on an iPhone.
Yeah.
And so you feel like it's, you know, like you're in the moment, like you're rushing through. So I get that. I think it's about understanding, like we do in all marketing, is understand your target audience and make sure that you deliver the type of content that they are going to engage with. How do you know that's going to be the case? Well, you research 10 of your competitors or exemplars, and you look at the last 10 posts that they've done, and so you've got 100 pieces of insight, and you start to make some evaluation around what's working and what isn't.
Yeah.
The best creators out there are A/B testing all of the time. They're finding out what's working and what isn't.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. So I'm just looking through, because we've pretty much covered everything in what content doesn't work. Well, we what was it? Yeah, overly techie. See, that worries me as a technical person. I like my techie videos, but I think again that goes back to what you said about knowing your audience.
Well, and also it's like using acronyms that people may not know what that is.
Yes.
So that's assuming that everybody knows what XYZ is, you know, and it's not necessarily the case. So yeah, be careful about that.
Absolutely. So one last thing before we go, just because it was something you mentioned right up at the beginning, you were talking a lot about specifically LinkedIn. And I know one of those things that surprised me coming into starting this channel and working with BCMC was just how big a deal LinkedIn still is in the business space.
100%. No, I mean, and you know, I've got a great view that says really use all of the tools that LinkedIn has for you. I mean, still people don't have banners on the top. That's the front page of your CV. We put so much effort into our CV or our company brochure, but feel that, okay, well, LinkedIn isn't as important. But actually, when you're Googled, LinkedIn will come up as the number one resource as to who and what you are. Make sure that you've got the very best photograph of yourself. Make sure that you've used the little 10-second video.
I want to see, is it the best photo? I mean, there we go.
There you go. That's a nice video. That's a nice picture. Yeah.
Maybe I'll flag it up on the video or something.
Yeah.
But see, I did do a banner, so I got that right, and I got the photos not bad.
And really, what do people get when they work with you? That's the sort of thing. What's your value proposition? We do it for companies, but we don't always do it for ourselves.
Yeah.
Without being overly salesy, if you, for example, felt passionate about a charitable cause, then why not have that on your landscape? Because that says this is the essence of you. And therefore that should be the case. The about us, again, I see people that have got little paragraphs, break it out into little paragraphs with little green ticks. So it's very clear about what value you bring.
Absolutely.
And get testimonials from people, really make the most of what's already there. And best part of all of this, it's free.
Yeah, I know, right? I mean, we could talk about this all day, but I am going to have to wrap things up. So if people want to know more about Gordon Glenister and, of course, the Influence Global podcast, where can they be looking?
So the good thing is I've got my own website, which is gordonglenister.com. Fortunately or unfortunately, there's only one of me, so I'm easy to find. I also have a free Facebook group called Influencer Marketing Secrets, and you can buy the book on Amazon, or you can subscribe to the podcast for free on Spotify or Amazon or anything else like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, but I better wind up because I've got a shed load of good quality editing to do now.
Great to see you.
You too. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.